Captain Lee Taman watched the giant screens on his ship's bridge. Red dots moved across the star map like angry insects. Each red dot was a Vorthak warship. Each one was bigger than his own vessel and carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. "How many are there?" he asked his second officer. 237 ships, sir. Maybe more hiding behind the gas giant." Taman closed his eyes for a moment. His fleet had only 42 ships left. 3 days ago, he had commanded over 300 vessels. The Vorthak bioships had eaten through his forces like acid through metal. The enemy ships looked like huge sea creatures made of black metal and pulsing flesh. They grew stronger after each battle, feeding on the wreckage of destroyed coalition ships. Their hulls adapted to every weapon the coalition used against them. Plasma cannons that worked in the first battle became useless in the second. Missile systems that once cracked their armor now bounced off like toys. "Sir, incoming message from Admiral Zilthara." The main screen flickered, showing the face of the Nexari commander. Her crystal-like features glowed with a pale blue light that meant fear among her people. "Captain Lee, my forces are retreating from the Helix sector. We cannot hold the line any longer. The bioships are adapting faster than we can develop new weapons. What about the Delphins and the Kythera fleets? Gone. The Delphins lost their entire third fleet at Kepler Station yesterday. The Kythera tried to make a stand at the asteroid belt, but their ships were absorbed into the enemy fleet." "We are witnessing the destruction of the coalition, Captain." Taman felt cold despite the warm air on his bridge. The coalition had stood for 200 years, bringing together dozens of species in peace and cooperation. Now it was falling apart in a matter of weeks. "There is one option left," Zilthara continued. "The humans have something. Admiral Park Ji-won has called for an emergency session on Earth. All surviving fleet commanders are ordered to attend." The transmission ended. Taman stared at the empty screen, wondering what secret weapon Earth might have hidden away. He gave orders to his navigator to set course for Earth, then walked to his private quarters to prepare for what might be the Coalition's last hope. On Earth, deep beneath the mountains of South Korea, Admiral Park Ji-won sat in a room that officially did not exist. The Human Defense Council had gathered in this underground facility, their faces lit by the glow of holographic displays showing the disaster unfolding across the galaxy. "The situation is clear," Park Ji-won said to the 12 council members seated around the circular table. "The coalition will fall within 2 weeks unless we act. The other species have done their part. Now it is our turn." Dr. Kim Hyejin stood up from her seat. She was a small woman with tired eyes who had spent the last 10 years working on projects that kept her awake at night. "Project Nightfall is ready," she said quietly. "But I must remind the council that we do not fully understand the technology we are about to unleash. The ship exists and it functions, but the principles behind its operation remain largely mysterious to us." "Explain it in simple terms, Doctor," said Council Member Yang Woo-seok. Hyejin activated a holographic display showing a ship unlike anything in the Coalition fleet. It was black as the space between stars, shaped like a dagger made of shadow and steel. 15 years ago, our deep space exploration teams found a derelict vessel in the void sector. The ship was dead, its crew long gone, but its technology was intact. We reverse-engineered what we could, but much of it operates on principles that our best scientists cannot explain. "What can it do?" another council member asked. "It can make things stop existing." The room fell silent. Park Ji-won leaned forward in his chair. "Be more specific, Doctor. The weapon system does not destroy targets in the conventional sense. It removes them from reality entirely. No explosion, no debris, no energy signature. The target simply ceases to be as if it had never existed at all." "Have you tested this weapon?" "Yes, on unmanned targets in empty space. The results were disturbing. We destroyed a small asteroid, but our sensors detected temporal anomalies around the test site for weeks afterward. It was as if space itself was confused about what had happened." Park Ji-won stood up and walked to a secure terminal. He placed his hand on a scanner and spoke his authorization codes aloud. A new display appeared, showing a hidden shipyard in the outer solar system. "The USS Blackstar is complete and ready for deployment. Commander Choi Dong-woo has been selected as captain. His crew consists of volunteers who understand they may not return from this mission." In the Kuiper Belt, far beyond the orbit of Neptune, Commander Choi Dong-woo walked through the corridors of the most classified ship in human history. The USS Blackstar was larger than most coalition vessels, but it felt empty despite its crew of 800. The walls absorbed light instead of reflecting it, creating an atmosphere of perpetual twilight. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Commander Han Soo-jin, met him in the ship's conference room. She was reviewing the crew's psychological profiles for the third time that day. "Are they ready?" Dongwoo asked. "As ready as anyone can be for this kind of mission." Most of them volunteered after losing family in the Vorthak attacks. They understand the risks. Do they understand what we are asking them to become? Soo-jin paused, looking up from her tablet. "Do any of us understand that, sir?" Dongwoo walked to the room's only window, looking out at the construction bay where the Blackstar waited. The ship seemed to bend light around itself, creating visual distortions that hurt to look at directly. Dr. Seo Hyun-wook says the ship's systems will change us. Every time we use the weapon, every moment we spend connected to the ship's exotic technologies, we become less human and more something else. The crew knows the price, Commander. They are willing to pay it if it means stopping the Vorthak. An hour later, the USS Blackstar launched from its hidden dock. No fanfare, no ceremony, no record of its departure. The ship slipped into the darkness between stars, its hull absorbing all electromagnetic radiation like a wound in space itself. As Earth grew smaller behind them, Dongwoo sat in his captain's chair and wondered if they would still be human when their mission was complete. The Blackstar was humanity's last hope, but it might also be their damnation. The war was about to change in ways that no one could imagine. Overlord Vrexhan stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his bioships feast on the remains of another coalition fleet. The creatures that served as his vessels pulsed with satisfaction as they absorbed the metal and energy from the destroyed ships, growing larger and stronger with each meal. "How many worlds have we claimed this cycle?" he asked his War Master. 17 star systems, Overlord. The coalition races flee before us like frightened prey animals. Their weapons become weaker with each battle as our ships adapt and evolve. Vrexhan felt the deep satisfaction that came with successful conquest. His empire had consumed thousands of species across the galaxy over the past million years. Each new civilization they encountered followed the same pattern. Initial resistance, desperate innovation, and then inevitable surrender as the bioships adapted to every weapon used against them. The Vorthak themselves had evolved beyond the need for traditional technology. Their ships were living creatures, bred for war and capable of learning from every battle. Their armor grew thicker after surviving energy weapon attacks. Their hulls became more flexible after enduring kinetic bombardment. They were the perfect predators and the galaxy was their hunting ground. "What news from the forward fleets?" "All sectors report similar success, Overlord. The crystal beings have retreated from the outer rim. The water dwellers have abandoned 3 more systems. Only the humans seem willing to continue fighting, but their ships are no different from the others." Vrexhan dismissed his subordinate and turned to study the tactical displays. Something felt different about this conquest, though he could not identify what. The coalition species fought with more desperation than most, but desperation alone had never been enough to stop the Vorthak advance. 3,000 light-years away, Captain Lee Taemin's surviving ships regrouped at Rally Point Sigma. The emergency meeting on Earth had been brief and unsatisfying. Admiral Park Ji-won had assured the coalition commanders that humanity had a secret weapon, but he refused to provide details. "I do not like mysteries," Admiral Zilthara said during their private conference. Her crystalline features shifted colors as she spoke, displaying the complex emotions of her species. "In all our years of alliance, humans have shared their technology freely. Why do they hide this weapon from us?" Taemin understood her concern. The coalition worked because each species contributed their unique abilities to the common defense. The Nexari provided advanced shield technology, the Delphins contributed their mastery of underwater warfare, and the Kithara offered their collective intelligence networks. Humans had always shared their innovations in return. "Perhaps the weapon is too dangerous to discuss openly," he suggested. "Or perhaps humans are not as different from the Vorthak as we hoped." Before Taemin could respond, his communications officer interrupted. "Sir, we are receiving a priority transmission from Earth. Admiral Park Ji-won requests an immediate secure channel." The holographic display activated, showing the Admiral's tired face. "Captain Lee, I need your fleet to reposition to the Helix Nebula immediately. Maintain a safe distance from any Vorthak forces you encounter, but observe and record everything you see." "What are we looking for, Admiral?" "You will know when you see it." The transmission ended, leaving Taemin frustrated with the continued secrecy. He gave orders for his fleet to jump to the Helix Nebula, wondering what kind of weapon could be so secret that even coalition allies could not know about it. The USS Blackstar drifted through the darkness at the edge of the Helix Nebula, invisible to conventional sensors. On the bridge, Ensign Nam Young-ho monitored displays that showed readings no other ship in the galaxy could detect. "Sir, I am picking up quantum fluctuations throughout this sector. It is as if space itself is unstable here." Commander Choi Dong-woo studied the readings, trying to understand information that challenged everything he thought he knew about physics. The ship's exotic sensor systems revealed layers of reality that standard science said should not exist. "How many Vorthak ships are in the area?" "Approximately 300 bioships, sir. They appear to be massing for an assault on the Coalition's stronghold at Kepler Prime." Chief Engineer Yoon Min-seo's voice came through the communication system from deep within the ship's engine room. "Commander, the exotic drive is ready for activation. I must warn you again that we do not fully understand the forces we are about to unleash." Dong-woo walked to the captain's chair, feeling the weight of the moment. His crew of 800 volunteers waited for his order, knowing it might be the last command they received as fully human beings. "Dr. Seo, what are the theoretical risks of weapon activation?" The ship's physicist appeared on the bridge display, his face showing the strain of weeks spent trying to understand impossible technology. "The weapon operates by accessing what I can only describe as the space between possibilities, sir. Each use creates quantum instabilities that could have unpredictable effects on local spacetime. And the risks to the crew? Unknown but likely significant. The technology appears designed for beings with a different relationship to reality than baseline humans possess." Dong-woo looked around his bridge crew. Lieutenant Commander Han Soo-jin gave him a small nod of encouragement. The other officers waited calmly for his decision, their faces showing the determined resignation of people who had already accepted their fate. "All stations, prepare for weapons activation. Target the center of the Vorthak formation." The USS Blackstar began to change. The ship's hull plates shifted and realigned themselves, creating geometric patterns that seemed to hurt the eyes when viewed directly. Deep within the vessel, machinery that operated on principles beyond human understanding came to life. The Blackstar did not fire weapons in any conventional sense. Instead, it began to sing. The harmonic frequency started as a low vibration that could barely be felt through the ship's deck plates. It grew stronger, rising through octaves that human ears could not hear, reaching into dimensions that human minds could not comprehend. In the Vorthak fleet, bioships suddenly stopped their coordinated movement. Their living hulls shuddered as the harmonic frequency reached them, carrying information that contradicted their very existence. The creatures that served as vessels began to fade, their matter redistributing across quantum probability states. One by one, the Vorthak ships simply ceased to be. No explosion, no debris field, no energy signature to mark their passing. They flickered out of existence like candles in a strong wind, leaving empty space where moments before a mighty fleet had prepared for battle. On his flagship, Overlord Vrexhan watched in horror as 2/3 of his assault force vanished without explanation. The surviving ships fled in panic, their bio-neural networks screaming warnings about the dark ship that unmakes. For the first time in a million years, the Vorthak Empire had encountered something they could not understand or adapt to overcome: terror, an emotion they had not felt since their own species had evolved beyond prey status, filled their collective consciousness. 3,000 light-years away, Captain Lee Taemin received sensor readings that made no sense. An entire Vorthak fleet had simply disappeared from his displays, leaving behind only empty space and confused electromagnetic echoes. "Sir, what could cause readings like this?" Taemin stared at the impossible data, understanding finally what Admiral Park Ji-won had meant. The weapon was too dangerous to discuss openly because it operated outside the normal laws of physics. "Send a message to Earth," he said quietly. "Tell them the demonstration was successful." In the depths of space, the USS Blackstar completed its first engagement and prepared to continue its dark mission. The crew felt the changes beginning as exotic energies flowed through their bodies, altering them in ways they could not yet comprehend. The war had entered a new phase, and nothing would ever be the same. News of the impossible victory spread through both Coalition and Vorthak territories like wildfire. On worlds across the galaxy, Military commanders studied sensor readings that showed an entire fleet simply vanishing from existence. No one could explain what had happened in the Helix Nebula. Overlord Vrexhan called together his war council for the first time in 3,000 years. The massive bioship that served as his mobile command center pulsed with agitation as hundreds of Vorthak leaders gathered to discuss the unthinkable. "We have encountered something new," Vrexhan announced to the assembled crowd. His voice carried the deep authority of a being who had conquered half the galaxy. "Our fleet at Helix Nebula was not destroyed. It was erased." The War Council buzzed with confusion and fear. War Master Keithvar, veteran of 1,000,000 battles, stepped forward. "Overlord, our bioships have adapted to every weapon ever used against them. Energy weapons, kinetic bombardment, exotic particles, dimensional distortion fields. Nothing has been able to truly harm our fleets once they learned to defend themselves. This was different. Our ships did not have time to adapt because they were not attacked in any way we understand. They simply stopped existing." The council fell silent. For over 1,000,000 years, the Vorthak had been the apex predators of the galaxy. They had consumed entire civilizations, absorbed their technology, and moved on to the next conquest. The concept of facing something they could not overcome was foreign to their experience. "What do we know about this weapon?" asked another war master. "Very little. Our surviving ships detected no energy discharge, no projectile launch, no dimensional rift. There was only a dark ship that sang a song our biovessels could not survive hearing." Vrexhan activated a holographic display showing the aftermath of the battle. Empty space stretched where his fleet had been, marked only by strange quantum distortions that their sensors could barely detect. "Begin immediately developing countermeasures. If these humans have found a way to edit reality itself, we must learn to defend against it or risk extinction." Captain Lee Taemin sat in his ready room aboard the Coalition flagship Aurora, reading reports that made no sense. Intelligence sources throughout the galaxy were reporting strange incidents involving a mysterious dark ship that appeared without warning and left only empty space behind. 3 separate Vorthak strongholds had been hit in the past week. Each time the pattern was the same. A black vessel would materialize at the edge of the system, approach the enemy fleet, and begin some kind of harmonic resonance that caused ships to vanish from existence. His communications officer interrupted his reading. "Sir, priority transmission from Earth, Admiral Park G1. The Admiral's face appeared on the main display. Looking more tired than Taemin had ever seen him. "Captain, I need you to understand something important. The weapon we have deployed is working, but it comes with costs we are only beginning to understand. Under no circumstances are you or any other coalition forces to attempt contact with the USS Blackstar." "Sir, what is the USS Blackstar?" "The ship responsible for the recent victories. It exists outside normal command structure and operates under protocols that are classified beyond your clearance level." Taemin felt frustration building. "Admiral, with respect, the Coalition has a right to know what weapons are being used in our name. The other species are asking questions I cannot answer, and you will continue to be unable to answer them. Some knowledge is too dangerous to share, Captain. Trust me when I tell you that the less you know about Project Nightfall, the safer everyone will be." The transmission ended, leaving Taemin alone with his questions and concerns. For the first time since the war began, he wondered if humanity might be more dangerous than the Vorthak. Aboard the USS Blackstar, Commander Choi Dongwoo walked through corridors that seemed different each time he passed through them. The ship's internal structure was shifting, adapting to forces that his crew was unleashing with each weapon activation. Dr. Seo Hyun-wook met him in the ship's science laboratory, surrounded by displays showing readings that challenged fundamental physics. "Commander, we need to discuss the side effects of our weapon system. The crew is experiencing changes that go beyond what we expected." "Show me." SEO activated a holographic display showing brain scans from various crew members. The neural patterns were unlike anything in medical databases. Navigation Officer Kang Bo-ra reported seeing multiple timelines simultaneously during our last engagement. Ensign Nam Young-ho claims he can perceive dimensions of space that should not exist. The changes are accelerating with each weapon use. Dongwoo studied the data, trying to understand implications that seemed too large to grasp. Are they still human? That question is becoming difficult to answer, sir. Their genetic structure remains baseline human, but their consciousness appears to be expanding beyond normal limitations. They are beginning to perceive reality in ways that human minds were never designed to handle. In the ship's navigation center, Kang Bo-Ra stared at displays showing impossible information. She could see not just where the Blackstar was, but where it could be, might be, and had been in alternate timelines. The quantum uncertainties created by their weapon were making space itself unstable. "Commander," she reported through the ship's communication system, "I am detecting temporal displacement around our last 3 target sites. It appears our weapon is creating paradoxes in the space-time continuum." Lieutenant Commander Han Soo-jin reviewed her crew evaluation reports in growing alarm. 30% of the ship's personnel were reporting experiences that bordered on precognitive ability. They knew things they should not know, saw events that had not yet happened, and sometimes spoke in languages that did not exist. "The exotic energy exposure is changing us at a fundamental level," she reported to Dongwu during their daily briefing. "We are becoming something new, something that can perceive multiple layers of reality simultaneously. Are we still capable of completing our mission?" "More capable than ever, sir. But each engagement makes us less human and more something else." The USS Blackstar appeared simultaneously at 3 different Vorthak strongholds across the galaxy, an impossibility that terrified both enemy and ally observers. Each engagement followed the same terrifying pattern. The dark ship arrived, began its harmonic resonance, and enemy vessels simply ceased to exist. At Kepler Station, a massive Vorthak biofleet preparing to assault coalition mining operations found themselves facing the impossible ship. Overlord Vrexhan watched through quantum communicators as his forces encountered the weapon that defied understanding. "All ships, activate quantum shielding. Do not let the dark ship song reach your bio-neural networks." The Vorthak had spent weeks developing countermeasures based on their limited understanding of the threat they faced. Exotic shield generators created fields of quantum static around their bioships, designed to block whatever frequency the human weapon used. The USS Blackstar began to sing. The quantum shields, held for exactly 3 seconds before the harmonic resonance found frequencies that existed outside normal spacetime. One by one, the Vorthak vessels flickered out of existence. Their matter redistributed across probability states that baseline physics said could not exist. "Impossible." Vrexhan screamed as his most advanced fleet vanished before his eyes. No weapon can operate beyond the quantum level. But the Blackstar was not operating beyond the quantum level. It was operating from within it, editing the fundamental code of reality itself. Each ship it erased was not destroyed, but convinced never to have existed at all. The surviving Vorthak vessels fled in terror, broadcasting panic signals throughout their empire. For the first time in their history, they had encountered something they could not adapt to overcome. In the depths of space, the crew of the USS Blackstar felt the changes accelerating within them. They were no longer entirely human, but they were becoming something that could fight battles in dimensions that most species could not perceive. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Lee Jinny reviewed her latest scans with growing concern. The crew's molecular structure was shifting, their consciousness expanding beyond normal human limitations. They were transcending their original nature, but the price of that transcendence was everything that made them human. "How much longer can we maintain this campaign?" Dongwu asked during their private consultation. "Unknown, sir. We are entering uncharted territory in terms of human evolution. The crew is adapting to forces that should destroy any biological organism. But adaptation comes with permanent changes to their essential nature." Dongwu nodded, understanding the weight of what they had undertaken. The USS Blackstar was winning the war, but victory was transforming them into something that might no longer be capable of returning. Home, the Vorthak Empire began implementing increasingly desperate measures as their fleets continued to vanish. Before the impossible human weapon, they created dead zones of collapsed spacetime, hoping to slow the advance of the ship that could appear anywhere and erase anything from existence. But the USS Blackstar moved between realities now, existing in the spaces between possibilities. It was becoming something beyond conventional understanding, crewed by beings who were no longer entirely human but remained committed to protecting the galaxy. They could no longer fully inhabit. The war had entered its final. The USS Blackstar had eliminated 60% of the Vorthak Empire's military capacity in just 3 weeks. But victory was creating problems that the designers of Project Nightfall had never imagined. Deep in the ship's medical bay, Dr. Lee Jin-A studied test results that challenged everything she understood about human biology. "Commander, you need to see this," she said as Choi Dong-woo entered her laboratory. The walls around them seemed to shift and breathe, responding to exotic energies that flowed through the ship's systems. She activated a holographic display showing cellular samples from various crew members. The DNA structures looked normal at first glance, but closer examination revealed patterns that should not exist in nature. "These are samples from Ensign Nam Young-ho, taken before and after our last 3 engagements. Look at the quantum resonance patterns." Dong-woo studied the display, seeing molecular structures that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. "What am I looking at, Doctor?" "Evolution, sir. Forced evolution at a rate that should be impossible. The crew's cellular structure is adapting to the exotic energies our weapon system generates. We are becoming something new. Are we still human? That question is becoming meaningless, Commander. Humanity, as we have always defined it, may be a temporary state. We are transcending our original nature, but I cannot predict what we are becoming." In the ship's navigation center, Kang Bo-ra no longer needed the traditional displays to know where they were. She could perceive the ship's position across multiple dimensions simultaneously, seeing not just where the Blackstar existed, but where it could exist in countless alternate realities. "Commander, we have a problem," she reported through the communication system. "Our weapon is creating quantum instabilities that extend far beyond our target zones. Space itself is becoming confused about what is real and what is possible." Dong-woo made his way to the bridge, passing crew members who moved with the fluid grace of beings who no longer experienced normal physical limitations. Their eyes held depths that seemed to contain infinite knowledge. But their humanity was fading with each passing day. Chief Engineer Yoon Min-seo met him at the main tactical display, her face showing the strain of managing technology that operated outside known physical laws. "Sir, the exotic drive system is becoming self-sustaining. It no longer requires external power input because it is feeding on the quantum fluctuations created by our own weapon discharges." "Is that dangerous?" "Unknown but concerning. The ship is developing characteristics that we did not design into it. It appears to be evolving along with the crew." On Earth, Admiral Park Ji-won received reports from deep space monitoring stations that filled him with dread. The USS Blackstar's quantum signature was becoming increasingly difficult to detect, as if the ship itself was beginning to exist partially outside normal spacetime. Dr. Kim Hee-jin reviewed the classified files in her underground laboratory, searching for solutions to problems she had never imagined when Project Nightfall began. "We may have created something beyond our ability to control," she admitted during their emergency consultation. "The technology we reverse-engineered from that derelict vessel was not designed for baseline human consciousness. Each use changes the crew in fundamental ways. Can we recall them?" "I am not certain they would be capable of returning to normal space anymore, Admiral. The exotic energies they have been exposed to may have permanently altered their relationship with reality itself." Park Ji-won studied the quantum resonance patterns that marked the Blackstar's path through the galaxy. Behind the ship, space-time showed signs of stress and distortion, as if reality itself was being rewritten by their passage. "What have we done, Doctor?" "We may have saved the galaxy, sir. But the cost is becoming clear. We have created guardians who can no longer be part of what they protect." In Vorthak space, Overlord Vrexhan faced the unthinkable. His empire, which had dominated the galaxy for over 1,000,000 years, was collapsing before a single enemy vessel that operated by principles he could not understand or counter. "War Master Kethvar, what is our military status?" "Catastrophic, Overlord. We have lost 43 major fleets, 16 fortress worlds, and countless smaller vessels. Our bioships cannot adapt to a weapon that operates by editing them out of existence itself." Vrexhan studied tactical displays that showed the impossible scope of their losses. Red zones marked areas where entire fleets had simply vanished, leaving behind only quantum distortions that confused their sensors. "Have our scientists made any progress understanding this threat?" "Limited progress, Overlord. We believe the humans have discovered technology that allows them to manipulate the fundamental quantum structure of reality. Their weapon does not destroy targets so much as convince the universe that those targets never existed." For the first time in his long existence, Vrexhan felt genuine fear. The Vorthak had survived as apex predators by being able to adapt to any threat. But this enemy operated outside the normal framework of cause and effect. "Prepare a communication to the coalition leadership," he said quietly. "We wish to discuss terms." "Terms, Overlord?" "Surrender. Complete and unconditional surrender." The War Council erupted in shock and dismay. Never in their recorded history had the Vorthak considered surrendering to any enemy. But never before had they faced annihilation by forces they could not comprehend. "The dark ship that steals souls must be stopped," Frexhan announced. "We will provide the Coalition with complete intelligence about our remaining forces and submit to any terms they demand. But they must call off their reality-eating weapon before it destroys us all." Captain Lee Taemin received the Vorthak surrender offer with mixed emotions. Victory was within reach, but the cost of that victory was becoming apparent. Deep space sensors were detecting quantum anomalies throughout the regions where the mysterious dark ship had operated. "Sir, we are receiving reports from scientific stations across the galaxy," his communications officer reported. "Ships and installations that were destroyed earlier in the war are being detected by our sensors. But they exist in a state of quantum superposition." "Explain." "They are simultaneously destroyed and not destroyed, sir. The weapon appears to be creating temporal paradoxes that threaten the stability of causality itself." Admiral Zilthara's image appeared on the main display, her crystalline features showing patterns of deep concern. "Captain Lee, my science council has analyzed the quantum distortions left behind by the human weapon. We believe continued use could destabilize the space-time framework of our entire galactic region." "What are you suggesting?" "That humanity's cure may be worse than the disease. We face a choice between conquest by the Vorthak or the possible unraveling of reality itself." Taemin closed the communication and sat alone in his ready room, understanding finally the terrible weight that Admiral Park Ji-won had carried. Humanity had saved the galaxy, but at a price that might destroy everything they had fought to protect. Aboard the USS Blackstar, Ensign Nam Young-ho made a discovery that confirmed their worst fears. His exotic sensor readings showed ships and space stations throughout their operational area, existing in impossible states. "Commander, the Vorthak vessels we have eliminated are not truly gone," he reported. "They exist in quantum superposition, neither fully destroyed nor fully present. Our weapon is creating a growing region of unstable reality." Dr. Seo Hyun-wook analyzed the data with growing alarm. "We are not just erasing targets from the present timeline, sir. We are creating paradoxes that extend backward and forward through time itself. Each engagement makes the fundamental structure of space-time more unstable." Lieutenant Commander Han Soo-jin reviewed her final crew psychological evaluation reports. 90% of the ship's personnel no longer registered as entirely human. They existed in a state of quantum superposition, simultaneously present and absent from baseline reality. "Sir, the crew reports that they can perceive the destruction we have caused across multiple timelines," she told Dong-woo during their daily briefing. "They can see the growing instability our actions have created and the potential consequences if we continue. Can we stop?" "Unknown, sir. The ship's systems have become integrated with our consciousness. We may no longer be separate from the weapon we control." Dong-woo walked to his quarters and stood before a mirror that no longer showed his reflection clearly. His image flickered between multiple quantum states, showing versions of himself that existed in alternate timelines. The USS Blackstar had become humanity's greatest weapon and its greatest threat. They had saved the galaxy from the Vorthak, but in doing so, they had become something that could destroy reality itself. The war was ending, but the real battle was just beginning. Commander Choi Dong-woo received the recall order from Earth, while standing on a bridge that no longer resembled anything built by human hands. The USS Blackstar's command center had evolved into something that existed partially outside normal space, its walls showing glimpses of alternate realities where different versions of the war were being fought. "Sir, Admiral Park Ji-won is ordering us to stand down and return to Earth immediately," reported Lieutenant Commander Han Soo-jin. Her voice carried harmonics that human vocal cords should not be able to produce. Dong-woo read the message on a display that showed text in dimensions his baseline human eyes could never have perceived. The words carried layers of meaning that spoke directly to his transformed consciousness. "Chief Engineer Yoon, can we comply with the recall order?" Min Seo's image appeared on the communication screen, but her face flickered between multiple quantum states. Unknown, Commander. The ship's exotic systems have become self-sustaining. We may no longer be capable of existing in normal space. The USS Blackstar had become something beyond its original design. Each use of its reality-editing weapon had changed not just the crew but the vessel itself. The ship now fed on quantum fluctuations created by its own operations, growing stronger and more alien with each engagement. Dr. Seo Hyun-wook materialized on the bridge, his physical form shifting between solid matter and pure energy. Commander, I have completed my analysis of our situation. We exist in a state of quantum superposition, simultaneously present and absent from baseline reality. Can we return to Earth? Attempting to re-enter normal spacetime might destabilize the entire solar system, sir. We have become a quantum paradox that reality cannot fully accommodate. Navigation Officer Kang Bo-ra turned from her station, her eyes reflecting depths that contained infinite knowledge. Commander, I can see the paths. If we return to Earth, our presence will create cascade failures in spacetime that could unravel human civilization. On Earth, Admiral Park Ji-won paced in his underground command center, watching displays that showed growing quantum instabilities throughout the galaxy. Dr. Kim Hye-jin had spent weeks trying to establish communication with the USS Blackstar, but each attempt resulted in transmissions that arrived before they were sent. Admiral, we are receiving another temporal paradox signal from the Blackstar, reported the communications officer. The message appears to exist in multiple versions simultaneously. The main display activated, showing Commander Dong-woo's face overlaid with quantum interference patterns. His image flickered between different ages, as if time itself was uncertain about when the transmission was being sent. Earth Command, this is USS Blackstar. We have received your recall order, but compliance may not be possible. Our quantum state has stabilized outside normal spacetime parameters. Commander, explain your situation clearly. We exist between realities now, Admiral. Each use of our weapon has pushed us further from baseline existence. We can perceive threats and possibilities that normal consciousness cannot detect. The transmission carried additional layers of information that caused the base's quantum computers to overload. Hidden within the message were details about timeline fractures, dimensional instabilities, and something else that made Admiral Park Ji-won's blood run cold. Commander, are you reporting additional threats? Affirmative, sir. Our enhanced perception has detected signs of extra-reality incursion at the Galactic Rim. The Vorthak were not invading our galaxy. They were fleeing from something. Dr. Kim Hye-jin joined the communication, her face showing the strain of weeks spent trying to understand the monster they had created. Commander, what did you discover? Dong-woo's image stabilized for a moment, showing a being that had once been human but was now something far more complex. Harvester civilizations, Doctor. Entities that consume entire realities and move on to the next dimensional layer. The Vorthak Empire was running from something that makes our weapon look like a child's toy. 3,000 light-years away, Captain Lee Taemin received priority orders to establish contact with the USS Blackstar. His attempts to locate the mysterious vessel resulted in sensor readings that violated basic physics. Sir, our deep space scanners are detecting the Blackstar in 17 different locations simultaneously, his science officer reported. Each signature shows a different quantum resonance pattern. Are they all real? Unknown, sir. The ship appears to exist in a state of quantum superposition that allows it to be present in multiple locations without violating conservation laws. Taemin authorized a tight beam transmission toward the strongest signal. Within seconds, he received a response that caused his communications equipment to overload. Coalition vessel, this is USS Blackstar. We are monitoring 17 simultaneous conversations with your fleet. Commander Dong-woo, this is Captain Lee Taemin. Admiral Park Ji-won has ordered me to establish communication protocols with your vessel. Understood, Captain. But you should know that we are no longer operating under normal command structure. We exist outside the chain of command because we exist outside normal reality. The transmission carried undertones that made Taemin's crew nervous. The voice was recognizably human, but it spoke with the authority of something that had transcended human limitations. What are your current operational parameters? We are preparing for extra-reality defense, Captain. The true threat to this galaxy is approaching from dimensional angles that baseline consciousness cannot perceive. Aboard the USS Blackstar, Ensign Nam Young-ho monitored sensor readings that showed the approach of something that defied description. His enhanced perception could detect entities moving between dimensional layers, consuming entire realities as they advanced. Commander, the Harvester Vanguard will reach our galactic rim in approximately 6 months. Their advanced scouts are already probing the outer dimensional barriers. Dr. Lee Jinne reviewed medical scans that showed the crew's transformation was accelerating. Sir, we are becoming something that can exist in multiple dimensional layers simultaneously. The process appears designed to prepare us for combat with entities that operate outside normal space-time. Lieutenant Commander Han Soo-jin accessed data files that existed in quantum superposition, containing information about threats that baseline science could not detect. Commander, the derelict vessel from which we reverse-engineered our technology was not from an unknown alien civilization. Analysis of quantum decay patterns indicates it was the USS Blackstar itself, somehow cast back through time. Dongwu felt the weight of cosmic irony. They had discovered their own ship from a timeline that had not yet occurred, creating a predestination paradox that explained humanity's seemingly impossible technological breakthrough. We are caught in a temporal loop, aren't we? It appears so, sir. Our future selves left us the technology necessary to become what we needed to be. The crew that flew that derelict vessel had already faced the Harvester threat and evolved to combat it. Chief Engineer Yoon Min-seo reported from the ship's exotic drive chamber, where machinery now operated on principles that transcended physical laws. Commander, the ship is preparing for dimensional transit. We are receiving course corrections from our own future selves. Where are we going? Beyond the galactic rim, sir. To the spaces between realities where the real battle must be fought. On Vorthak worlds throughout the galaxy, Overlord Vrexhan prepared his species for exodus. The surrender offer to the Coalition had been accepted, but intelligence gathered during their retreat revealed the true scope of the threat they all faced. The dark ship that unmakes has become something beyond our understanding, he announced to his war council. But it may be the only thing capable of protecting this reality from what approaches. What are your orders, Overlord? Complete cooperation with Coalition forces. Provide them with everything we know about the entities that drove us from our original dimensional plane. The humans have created guardians who can fight battles in spaces we cannot perceive. Dr. Seo Hyun-wook made his final report to Commander Dongwu as the USS Blackstar prepared for its transformation into something beyond human comprehension. Sir, we have become a bridge between baseline reality and the dimensional layers where the real threats exist. Our consciousness can perceive and interact with entities that operate outside normal physics. Are we still human? We are what humanity needed to become to survive what is coming. We have transcended our original nature to protect everything we once were. The USS Blackstar began to fade from normal space-time, its hull becoming translucent as it prepared for dimensional transit. The crew felt their consciousness expanding beyond individual identity, becoming part of something larger and more complex than baseline human minds could comprehend. Commander Dongwu gave his final order as a human being. All hands, prepare for extra-reality defense operations. We are going beyond the rim to face threats that most civilizations will never know exist. The ship that had once been humanity's greatest secret was becoming something that could protect reality itself from entities that existed in the spaces between possibilities. The war in normal space was ending, but the real battle was about to begin in dimensions that most species could never imagine.